Okay, Year 10, this is your lesson for Wednesday. Um, just to recap, um, we looked at last week the first part of the brief where you are going to create a front cover and a DPS for a particular magazine. It could be Vibe, you could have chosen Vibe, you could have chosen um, Wired, or you could have chosen Sport UK. So that should have been done. You should have also sent me your first analysis of, of a front cover, and you need to do one more. So the requirements from BTEC is you need to do two analyses of front covers. It's not just good enough doing one. Now, you've got to do another analysis on the magazine that you've chosen. So if your analysis was on Vibe last week, you do another front cover of Vibe this week. Or if your analysis was on Wired last week, you do another Wired analysis of the front cover this week. I have put lots of different front covers in. Now, if you don't like any of them, I'm sure you will, but if you don't, you can always go on the internet, just type in what the magazine is called, Vibe or Wired or UK Sport, and just choose a front cover. Go into images and choose a front cover if you find one that you particularly want to do. So I'm just going to recap the sort of terminology really for the codes of conventions of a front cover. Remember, codes of conventions mean the typical things that you would expect to find within a media product. And this media product, of course, is magazines. So the typical things that you would find within a magazine front cover. So we have the masthead, okay, Vibe, massive block lettering here, but the masthead goes across, it goes from left to right. It is mostly found at the top of a magazine front cover. Not always. If you had a quirky, alternative, independent magazine, you might find that it's possibly down here at the bottom. But 9 times out of 10, the masthead will be at the top. Then there is a strapline. The strapline often encompasses the brand image, the image that the magazine wants to portray. It sort of sums it up. So remember, this is the strapline. So purple suits, white kicks, and a 30K dress. We are assuming that we're talking about Nicki Minaj here. That's what that strapline actually refers to. Then you have cover lines down here. Okay, cover lines will surround the main image mostly. Again, if you have an alternative magazine or an independent magazine, these can change because they tend to break conventions just to get that idea that they're quirky or they're independent or there's something different from the norm. But this, to a degree, is relatively conventional. So what you'll find with cover lines is that will be a mixture of fonts, Notorious, King, King, um, and that's almost handwritten in that font. And then you've got some cover lines down here. You've got cover lines here as well. Cover lines here, 13, okay, that links into those cover lines. And then these cover lines up here. And what you'll find with cover lines is these are little enigmas with hyperbole or emotive language that will get the audience wanting to, they'll try and entice the audience to pick up the magazine and to read the magazine. That's what enigmas tends to do. And you'll think, oh, right, okay, so why is Drake so angry? Well, you'll find out within the magazine. So you'll find that there is often emotive language on the cover lines as well. And that's something you need to look at when you're doing your analysis. Um, so other things, there is a main image of a person. Now, mostly the main image, the rule of thirds applies, and we've done that before, where the eyes, roughly on the front cover of a magazine, will go probably about a third of the way down, okay, which they are. Okay, if you split this into three, they are around a third of the way down. It's just about composition, what looks good on a magazine. If her head was down here, you'd have all this white space up here. And it just from a composition, from an aesthetics point of view, and aesthetics means pleasing for the eye, so it looks good. They need to be about a third of the way down. Quite a typical shot in a way, that it is a medium shot, just possibly past a medium shot, but I'd call it a medium shot. There is direct mode of address, although she's not looking straight on at the camera. There is a direct mode of address to grab the audience's attention. It gives that sort of personalised view, that she's looking at you. She wants you to come and read the magazine. You've got that connection with a celebrity when you've got that direct mode of address. She's grabbing your attention. Now, if you look at the colour scheme, it is predominantly this orangey red, this fiery sort of orange, that runs through her hair, and they've obviously picked up that colour within the background of 13 and in Vibe. And Nicki Minaj is not a shrinking violet. She's known to be quite feisty, quite sassy. You know, she says what's on her mind. So this sort of the connotations of her representation of this fiery woman is definitely coming through in their hair, and that colour coordination is seen within the masthead and some of the cover lines as well. She's got a tiara on. It's like a crown, so almost the Queen, possibly to Notorious's King, maybe. And she's quite an interesting character. She's very feminized. She's bright pink lipstick, bright pink blusher up here, and then very heavily made up eyes as well. She's got sparkles and strange, I don't know, pinks and nail extensions on there. She's got a big ring, and she's got this very silvery, almost like a wedding gown as well. And again, maybe that is that queen-like figure that she is, or that she is trying to represent. So I think that's quite important to look at. When you're looking at codes and conventions, look at how the construction is created of the main person within there. You do sometimes in other magazines get other small graphics, or other, maybe down here there might be a circle with someone else's images on there. Particularly women's magazines, something like Woman's Own or Woman, or any soap related magazines, tend to have multiple images on the front. This is Vibe, this is for a young audience, but a particular type of audience as well. These aren't people that are going to go for, the pop music. These aren't people that are going to be listening to Ed Sheeran possibly, or God, I'm trying to think of a pop group and I can't think. These are people that maybe are going to look for R&B. They're going to look for rap. They're going to look for grime music possibly. So it is not a mainstream music magazine. If you look at the people on there, there's Drake, there's Nicki Minaj. I don't know who this person is, I have to say. You might know, but I don't. Kanye as well on there. So these are all people who fit into that sort of rap, R&B type music. Not that I know a lot about it. So masthead, strapline, direct mode of address, what she's wearing, her hair, the colour coordination that's on there and the connotations of that. Let's not forget the barcode as well, predominantly on the front of magazines, and that's purely conventional. That would be scanned through, at a supermarket or some type of shop. A lot of magazines now are actually online. So Vibe, you will be able to get online, and you'll have a subscription online, and they will just email you it out. And you can look at the magazine as if it was in front of you. You would just flick the pages through it. And it's just an online magazine. more and more people are actually turning to online magazines and to read that way. So there's just some examples really of, like, if I was analysing this magazine front cover, looking at the codes and conventions, looking at her representation, then I would definitely incorporate some of the things that I've said to get to really get that distinction level. You really need an in-depth analysis of codes and conventions. So it's not just okay to write a few paragraphs. It really does need to have that in-depthness. I'm sure that's not a word, but you get what I mean. It's got to be in depth, and it's got to be analytical as well. So what I would like you to do for this lesson, and I'll put the instructions on the PowerPoint as well, is I would really like you to do another analysis of codes and conventions of a magazine front cover of the same magazine that you did last week, but of a different edition, okay? Because we need two of these. It's really important that we have two analysis, in-depth analysis of these magazine front covers. So please choose one from the folders. Will put the folders back into this week. They are in last week's SharePoint folder, but I'll put them into this week as well. And look, if you don't like any of them, just go on the internet, have a look at other Vive front covers, or Wired, or UK Sport, and if there's one that you like more out there, use it. That's absolutely fine. Put it into a PowerPoint, draw lines on it, and then you can do a text box, and then you can write your analysis in there as well. Can you also make sure that you put your name on the PowerPoint as well? Any problems, any questions you have, just give us an email. It is cvictoria@smchull.org. All right, I will sign off for today. All right, bye then.